So, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, classmates. We are the group Zeta, and we are about to report about Frederick Winslow Taylor. So, Frederick Winslow Taylor's life. He is known as the father of scientific management. He was born on March 20, 1865, into an upper-class liberal Philadelphia family. His father is a lawyer and his mother is a feminist. Both believe in high thinking and plain living. At the age of 25, Taylor earned an engineering degree at the Stevens Institute of Technology in New Jersey, worked as a machinist and pattern maker in Philadelphia at the Enterprise Hydraulic Works, then became a common laborer at the Medvale Steel Company. Taylor always counting and measuring things to figure a better way of doing something. He started as a shop clerk and quickly progressed to machinist, foreman, maintenance foreman, and chief draftsman. Within 6 years, he advanced to research director, then became a chief engineer.
Historical background. In Industrial Revolution was widespread replacement of introduction of steam power and powered machinery, mainly textile manufacturing. It created a specialized and interdependent economic life and made the urban worker more completely dependent on the will of the employer than the rural worker had ever been. After the Civil War from 1861 to 18 out of local trades, steel, glass, textiles, and shoes, and what were small factories became large plants. So, Frederick Taylor, he thought of studying how work varied from person to person, picking elements, codifying it, and then teaching all other workers to monkey see, monkey do. Also, he said that in the past, the man has been first. In the future, the system of developing first-class men. So scientific management is the systematic study of the relationships between people and tasks for the purpose of redesigning the work process for higher efficiency or analyzes and synthesizes workflow. It's made for productivity. Scientific management is sometimes known as Taylorism after Frederick Winslow Taylor. Taylor sought to reduce the time a worker spent on each task by optimizing the way the task was done. He focused on the belief that making people work as hard as they could as was not as efficient. He published the Principles of Scientific Management. In this, he proposed that by optimizing and simplifying jobs, productivity would increase. The primary flaw of scientific management is the exploitation of workers, whereas putting the unnecessary pressures on the employees to perform the work faster, importance was given to productivity and profitability. Principles of scientific management replace rule of thumb work methods with methods based on scientific study of tasks, rather than passively leaving them to train themselves. Cooperate with the workers to ensure that developed methods are followed. Divide work nearly equally between managers and workers so that managers apply scientific management planning and generally it assumes that interests of the employee and employer are the opposite. Soldering. Taylor observed that so soldering, basically it refers to restriction of workers' output. He also stated that the causes of soldering. Number one, universal belief among workers that if they become more productive, only few of them would be systems encourage low productivity. They receive same wage regardless how much is produced. Number three, workers waste much of their efforts by relying on rule of thumb methods rather than an optical work method. So, rule of thumb is a guide that provides simplified advice regarding a particular instruction for accomplishing a certain task.
Taylor claimed that even way as to boost productivity considerably and that scientific work management was more effective than the initiative and incentive method of motivating workers. strategy provided an incentive to increase productivity while also putting the responsibility on the employee to figure out how to do it. Taylor conducted tests known as time studies, also known as time and motion studies, to objectively identify the best way to execute a job. The use of a stopwatch to clock a worker's sequence of motions was common in these studies with the optimum way to accomplish a job. Taylor and others conducted time and motion studies in the area of scientific management, including the science of shoveling, pig iron, and bricklaying. The science of shoveling. In another study of the science of shoveling, Taylor used time studies to find that the optimal weight for a person to lift with a shovel was 21 pounds. Since, since materials have a wide range of densities, the shovel being shoveled. The company equipped the workers with the best shovels possible. The outcome was a 3 to 4-fold boost in productivity, with workers receiving salary increases as a result. Workers used their own shovels prior to scientific management, and they rarely had the best pig iron. If workers were moving 12.5 tons of pig iron per day and could be encouraged to try to move 47.5 tons per day, they would very likely become weary within a few hours and fail to meet their objective if left uncontrolled. However, the workers' management could discover the best could move the 47 by first conducting studies to determine the quantity of resting that was required. Furthermore, not all employees were physically capable of carrying 47.5 tons per day. Possibly just 1/8 of the pig iron handlers were. While physical abilities were well suited to transporting pig iron, this example demonstrates that workers should be chosen based on their suitability for a specific job. Bricklaying, such as Gilbreth's bricklaying studies, which resulted in a significant reduction in the number of motions required to place bricks. In some of their trials, the husband and wife Gilbreth team used motion pictures technology to study the mobility of the workers. Next. Effects management. Taylor's personal selection philosophies are acceptable in today's management science. Previously, it was assumed that management highlights importance of recruiting the right personnel and training of them.
So for conclusions, Taylor has substantially contributed to today's human resource management. His theories form a basis for personnel selection, being one of the most important functions of personnel management. Taylor was effective in the development of long-term employment by suggesting recruiting the personnel by means of scientific methods. Because of scientific management, there would be advantages when it comes to teamwork, planning, reduced waste, and improvement in economic and work efficiency.